Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie Esther here and I have a few different things for you today. First of all, Dead by Daylight released their monthly roadmap for the month of July. Don't ask me what happened to the June roadmap. We never saw that one. But here we are in July, so we've got a busy summer ahead. Take a look at what we've planned for July. So starting today, those Waterfront Massacre outfits come out. We have outfits for Gabriel Adam and Sable. And then in week 2, July 16th, there's a lot going on. There is a live stream broadcast showcasing the 2v8 mode that's coming up on the 25th. And then we obviously have the release of the Lara Croft DLC, as well as the new tome, which is called Mythic, and also a collection of cosmetics for Lara Croft Tomb Raider collection, which that looks like that's an outfit from Rise of the Tomb Raider here as the header of the showcase. So we're getting at least that much, probably more. And then this Mythic Tome, those outfits look pretty amazing. Can't wait to see what those are. Then in week 3, we have the new game mode launches with the 2v8 from July 25th until August the 8th. And then also on July 25th, we have a cosmetic collection that's called Blood and Bones. And then in week 4, we have another cosmetic collection called Forgotten Memory. So that's your roadmap for the month of July. Yesterday, they also held the Ask Me Anything on Reddit. So we're going to go ahead and read through all of the questions that were answered by the devs. I think it's about 50 questions, so we're going to go through that. But first, I have this code for you to redeem. They gave this to the Reddit because the Reddit has over 1 million people on it. So they gave out this badge here, this little 8-bit crow called Reddit 1mil is the code you use for that to enter in game to unlock that badge. So I'll unlock that at the end. Let's go and read through all of the questions here. Okay, so here is a compilation of all the questions that were asked and answered, put together by Decutor. This, I guess, is the 4th Ask Me Anything we've had. And I heard this one is pretty good. A lot of times these are like fluff. There's a lot of non-answers and not much going on in here. But I guess there was actually some substance in this one. So we're going to go ahead and read through it here. Well, we're not starting off great. Since Saw has a full chapter on DVD, any chances you'll be attending its annual event, SawCon 2024? What's SawCon? Nice try. It's not our first rodeo. Nothing to say, I just love your video game and appreciate all your hard work. Thank you for coming by. We appreciate you. Did you have fun survey responses actually go anywhere? I've been debating this with a friend for almost 8 years. It's incredibly important to me. If I recall correctly, they answered this in the last AMA. They said that they keep the information, but they aren't doing anything with it at the moment. This is correct. Our previous AMAs can be reviewed here. Will we ever get new cosmetics or some type of reward for reaching P100? We're presently looking into ways to add more prestige rewards, including those for P100. Looking forward to sharing more info in the future. Interesting. Will we ever be able to sort characters by our favorites or prestige level? A favorite system is something we've been looking into for a while, but we're still seeing how it can be done properly with the current framework. Would it be possible to add an accessory toggle for cosmetics? This would save Hattie mains. Hiding accessories is an excellent idea that we could consider. Thank you for the suggestion. Why is everything in the deep rift blue? Thank you. It's blue because the rift is blue and we've gone deeper into it. Joking aside, we'll be adjusting how we create variants of our battle pass outfits in the future as we continue to update the system and its rewards. It will not always be blue. Oh, huzzah! Very happy to hear that. The blue was great when it first came out and now it's stale. We need something new. Are there any plans to make solo queue better to play? For example, making Kindred base kit, using the DVD mobile loading screen to let us see teammates' perks, etc. We're constantly looking for ways to make the Survivor experience better, and we'll keep these suggestions in mind. We have been hesitant to implement visible perks in the lobby due to other concerns like griefing and lobby dodging, but the topic as a whole is still in discussion. You have plans to rework Myers or Freddy? It's been highly requested, and they seem to no longer stack up with the other killers. Freddy has an update plan. That's pretty interesting. See, I told you there's some substance here. We'll have more information on that soon, so please stay tuned. Myers is definitely also on our radar, and we're hoping to see an update for him in the not-so-distant future. Interesting. Many Survivor players are extremely annoyed by Skull Merchant's power and will often leave a match just to avoid playing against her. Sometimes it gets to the point where survivors disconnect as soon as they see her in the distance, or instantly kill themselves on hook, which causes her kill rate to reach an insane 70%. Do you plan to change Skull Merchant in any way, or are you satisfied with her current state? As designers, we can't really say we're happy with where Skull Merchant is currently at, and it's something we're looking into. We have some bigger changes planned for her for next year. Next year? Okay. Slugging has become extremely common lately. A lot of killers create special builds to down all survivors and then wait until they'll bleed out on the ground. Some perks like Knockout promote this playstyle even more. Are there any plans to add a feature which will prevent such unpleasant situations? There are a few different big issues of this caliber that we're brainstorming and trying to address in the right way. Other than saying we're working on it, all I can really tell you is that these issues are very complicated and all sorts of angles need to be considered. We're definitely aware of it, and we're trying to be as thorough as we can. I did see one idea from another Fog Whisperer that said, what if you had a 4% chance, the same way that you have a 4% chance to jump off the hook? If you had a 4% chance to pick yourself up off the ground. I don't know. Interesting idea. Not much, but, you know, it's something, right? Will there be a new roadmap of planned changes? The one you guys made last year that told us all the different changes was awesome, and it would be equally as awesome if you guys did another one for the coming months. There will be. We're working on one right now that should be available by the end of the month. Glad to see you enjoyed these. Oh yeah, I remember that. They broke them down into months. What's happening this month? What's happening that month? I got you. Besides sending an email, what are the most effective methods and platforms to send feedback? The most effective way of giving feedback is on our forums and Reddit. These are the two strongest platforms for discussion. I blooming knew you guys are always in here watching and reading. We see everything. Everything, Wazowski. We can't respond to everything, but we see everything. I'm always watching, Wazowski. Now that current survivors all release with voice lines, are there any plans to go back and give older survivors voice lines? I like this one. It feels a bit strange that half the survivors now speak while the other half are completely mute. We're actively exploring this internally, but we can't provide a timeline for when these new voice lines might be added to the game. I would love it if they would just layer them in slowly but surely. I think that would be cool. During the release of All Things Wicked, a small minority of people said they weren't okay with creatures like Wendigo being in the game as it was a closed culture. However, I, as a Native American, would absolutely love to see the Wendigo and other creatures from my culture represented in DVD. Could you guys comment on the possibility of this being a reality? Thank you. Thanks for letting us know. When we consider cultural or folkloric content, we surround ourselves with experts to make sure the content is not toxic or incendiary, and tips on how we can shine it with the right light. Our goal is to make amazing characters that are fun and represent different cultures, folklore, and themes well. Yeah, I don't know. The idea of a Wendigo is very polarizing. I've seen that, so I don't know if that'll ever happen. Can we expect more queer content? Yes, we know representation matters, and we know it's important for our community, and it is to us as well. That's Dave Richard who said that. Could we ever get a definitive list of original characters' ages or birth dates? Very few characters have actual established ages, and it's something we're interested in. I just use the release date as the character's birthday. Thanks for letting us know of that interest. We do not have definitive ages for most characters by design. Not saying this will never be defined, but it's not something we're currently considering. What are the survivors from the official release trailer up to nowadays? Do they have official names, and will we ever see them in game in any way? Also, there was a female police officer featured in a concept art book. Any words about her? I know the ones in the trailer were early versions of the survivors we actually got, but let's ignore that. These survivors have been redesigned to the original 4 that are in game today. There are so many concepts that we dropped and never used along the way. I have to admit, it would be nice to revisit these concepts eventually. So if you don't know what we're talking about here in the original trailer for opening the game, the Meg was actually African American at one point. So, and they changed that. So, is there any interest, even passing interest, on crossing DBD over with other things? For example, having DBD characters make guest appearances in other properties. I understand this is the kind of question where you need to keep your lips sealed, so a vague or personal answer is fine by me. Of course, and it's already happened. DBD characters have made cameos in other games like Move or Die, For Honor, and PUBG, for example. And soon we're getting Power Wash Simulator, right? 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 No, that's just my April Fool's joke for this year. I'm desperate to know, why did the Mystics turn on Talbot before he had a breakthrough with the soul chemical? My theory was because Talbot intended to share it and not gatekeep, and they wanted to hoard all the information, but I don't know what really happened. Also, are we going to get more Blight lore? Please, I need more. Thank you for this question. I can't give you more details than what can be interpreted in the lore entries. As for more stories, yes, absolutely. We want to go back to past characters and add more lore for them. As you can imagine, it is incredibly challenging to do so, and we're adding more and more characters each year, but we have plans. I'd love to see more lore, honestly. Will we get more lore about Tarhos guards, Alejandro, Sandar, and Durkos? I'd love to know more about the characters, as would many other people. Yes, absolutely. We want to go back to past characters and dive deeper in the lore. Okay, so that's kind of the same thing, same question. How about a fast prestige system where I can choose like 5 items the system should prefer over other items, and I can prestige with one click? Anything planned in the future? Thank you for the suggestion. We'll consider it while we are discussing the improvements for Blood Web progression. Are there plans to increase the prestige further than P100? Yeah, some of y'all out here like, what do I do now? I want to go P500. Currently, we don't plan on increasing prestige level beyond P100. Are there any plans to get rid of linked sets? Linked sets are necessary for some outfits as they either have technical issues like clipping and breaking when unlocked, or are locked for license purposes. Due to technical constraints, we also still only have 3-piece sets at this time. So no 2-piece sets. Hi, since the bundle's new feature was implemented in the store, are we going to see, again, individual cosmetic pieces from past rifts? For example, Jane's Bohemian Wonderhead. Hello. We'll be starting a rotating bundle with outfits from past rifts to make sure that players start getting access to older content that hasn't been added to the store. We're looking to have that bundle in store at the very end of summer. It's a good idea to potentially expand that beyond outfits just to the individual pieces, though. We'll look into it. Any official statement on when cosmetic gifting will be added to the game? We don't have an official statement about it, but it's still in the works and not abandoned. That's cool. Are there any plans to expand the features of the legendary characters? For example, giving them their own menu portraits when selected, bloody prestige cosmetics, etc. Yes, we have been considering a system for legendary outfits that would allow them to have their own outfits and other visibility options, like a character in the selection menu. We have a bunch of legendary outfits that we'd love to get different variations for, too. Resident Evil Chris is by far the legendary character requested to have more outfits, so those players can rejoice that this is something that is on their radar for sure. Singularity's recent rework added aim assist feature on placing cameras. It might be helpful for new players, but it's also making him way more clunky for more experienced ones, as it affects the amount of control you have over the pod placement, which can be crucial sometimes. Will you tweak it or make it optional? I think you'll be pleased to know that we watched the PTB closely and have decided to remove the aim assist from the biopods for now. Despite making it easier for players less familiar with the Singularity, we agree that it did remove some of the skill expression that makes this killer special. That's interesting. It's been a long time since the experiment where prestiges were hidden in the lobby and we were told you would post the results at some point. Is this still planned? The update on this will be given around the Castlevania chapter release. So the update on what? That means they're going to let you hide prestige? Suppose. Are there any updates or plans to revisit old chapters that didn't receive maps, such as the All Kill chapter or a Binding of Kin? I would love maps for both of those chapters, honestly. Catacombs for the Binding of Kin and the recording studio for All Kill. While we on the level design team don't control the content of the chapters, we're definitely eager to delve deeper into the lore and environments mentioned in the archives, character bios, tomes, and even comic books. We appreciate your enthusiasm and interest. Please keep the feedback coming. Though we can't specify when, we're committed to exploring these elements in the future. I would actually love a Neon Knights Soul City map. Is there only one golden toolbox per realm? For example, Toba Landing and Nostromo Wreckage are both in the same realm, but are very different maps, so is there only one golden toolbox on one of them, or do both maps have a golden toolbox? The Unknowns map is another example. It's in the same realm as the Dredges, which does have a golden toolbox that has been found. So does the Unknowns map have one too, since it's such a different map, or does it not have one since the Dredges map already has one? It is indeed one per realm, even if it is visually different map. I take from the question that you are looking for this kind of Easter eggs, and I like it too. Let's see what else we can come up with in the future. So there's a couple maps that the golden toolbox still has yet to be found. Ormond being one of them. Ormond, it used to be underneath the stairs in the lodge, and it disappeared one day, and I've never seen it again. Maybe with the new map variations coming out, it'll return, but I don't know where that one is. Haddonfield is another one that upon rework, that golden toolbox has disappeared. Don't know where that one is either. And the Toba Landing one, I have never found. I'm assuming it's in Toba Landing and not in Nostromo Wreckage because Toba Landing came first, but I've never found that one either. Mind you, Toba Landing is so dense with foliage, who knows where that is. But those are the ones that are missing so far. There is a list on the wiki if you want to know the other locations, or you can just search up Golden Toolbox on my channel if you want to see what the heck this is talking about. I have a lot of videos about where the Golden Toolboxes are located. Hi there, what's the status of the Swamp rework, being the last one still needed for the Realm Beyond update? Yes, and that will depend on what opens up in the roadmap. Our art team has some great ideas already. On the level design side, we will also do a pass on the tiles to make sure gameplay is consistent with the rest of the game. For example, no more generators on the fence tiles. Is this to say a proper visual rework has yet to have work started in terms of implementation? No work started, but it's in discussion at the moment. We have other content coming before, but it's not forgotten. It can be very annoying in meetings that I keep asking about it, so no worries, I got you. Alright, so Swamp is gonna happen? I don't know. Are you guys ever planning on adding a variation to any of the current original maps that are set during the daytime to nighttime or vice versa? I feel it would add a ton of variety to the map pool and change the vibe of certain maps significantly. I don't know anything about coding or how games are made, but it doesn't seem like it'd be insanely hard to pull off, but I definitely could be very wrong. Yes, this is something we're considering for the future. We're looking into what would be needed for it and see how it could be deployed on the maps. I think day and night would be kind of cool. Maybe even weather conditions? Will you acknowledge the rising trend of hackers impersonating small streamers and casual players to get the actual innocent player banned? There is a clear bias of only helping large creators who were impacted by this. There's almost no chance of smaller creators and casual players getting their case given a second look by a real person unless they have a large fan base. We've investigated the issue you mentioned and are actively working with our EAC partners to unban the affected account. We have reached out to the player. We apologize for the error that led to their ban and will offer compensation. We're also reviewing our processes to prevent such incidents in the future, but we can't share too many details on this topic, as doing so could aid those developing cheats. We want to reassure our players that significant efforts are continuously underway behind the scenes to maintain a fair, safe, and enjoyable gaming experience. So this is in reference to Choi's video that came out about hackers getting innocent people banned. Is there a chance that you'll make a rework of certain perks and killers that seem to be really outdated or unused by the majority of the players to increase their usage? Definitely, our recent update for the twins had that exact goal. In fact, low-use characters don't always make it to the top of the list, but we try and update them periodically as we don't want any of them to be ignored. As for perks, we have shifted our focus to include more boosts for low-use perks in an effort to diversify the meta. You should be seeing more of this as time goes on. Why is the kill switch feature not used more often? For the Blood Moon event, Oni had a game-breaking exploit with lunging while carrying, busted with Mad Grit, not kill switch. 7.7 Hawkins is completely unplayable. A week without comment until we get told it has reduced odds of appearance instead of being kill switched. Past 4 months, potential energy exploit was being widely available, constantly reported, and bans handed out. Potential energy never got kill switched. These past few weeks, behavior has been repeatedly made aware of Trickster being a seizure danger. When finally acknowledged, it's still not kill switched. I would like an explanation why the kill switch is not directly used for its stated purpose. So if you don't know, Trickster has a very rare bug that could trigger photosensitivity seizures. That's what they're talking about. The kill switch is a nuclear option, and we assess carefully the impact of the bug and the effect on the matches. With the Trickster, well, thanks for that. Doing my own little shout out there. With the Trickster in particular, we only had one confirmed report and video, and we're asking players who have been affected to contact our player support team, Mandy. Yeah, my son has photosensitivity, epilepsy, and, this is an important issue to me. I don't understand why you don't use the kill switch if you have the kill switch, especially when, there are risks involved here, no matter how rare it might be. I understand there's a disclaimer on the game about, games naturally come with a photosensitivity disclaimer, but this seems something else and seems like it should be taken with a little more consideration. The nuclear option. Will there be a Dead by Daylight Design a Cosmetic contest this year? Yes, stay tuned to our social channels for news on this. Hello, I want to start with a thank you for doing this AMA today. Now for the question. We have started to get more stats these years. Something great. Now it would be nice to know if you people plan on releasing more and bigger stats. For example, one example may be the average prestige on the characters. Stats are something we love to give, and we're going to continue to release more stats to our players. We try to always show something that will appeal to a wide range of players, so something fun together with something more serious. If you have any requests for what stats you want to see, please feel free to ask on our forums. The more we see what our players are wanting to see in the stats post, the more we could tailor to these to meet your requirements. All right, you heard them. If you want to know about certain stats, go tell them on the forums. Will Lara Croft get a trailer? This time around, we tried to do something different. Instead of a PTB, instead of it using the trailer at PTB, we're looking at trailers for launch release instead. So stay tuned. Okay, that's cool. People were like, We didn't get a trailer for Lara. Should we expect DBD to move into the direction of becoming actual esports backed by behavior themselves? This answer comes in two parts. As far as the development of the game goes, we're not planning on balancing with esport level competitiveness as the priority. Our current focus is around making the game enjoyable for as many people as we can. This means that we may sometimes make changes that are positive for most players, but less so for competitive folks. With that said, a competitive scene has flourished despite that. Player-organized tournaments have their own rules set designed to keep things fair and interesting when played at that level. We've recently begun supporting some community-driven tournaments by providing prizes, and we're planning to continue this moving forward. We're also interested in seeing how we can support these tournaments in the game with features and improvements to custom games. If there's something in particular you'd like to see, let us know. In general, when I was involved in the esports scene, the thing that everybody wanted was set maps. Like, that there wouldn't be tile variation, so it would be fair for both teams. That's probably the number one thing that esports would like. Hey, there's one simple improvement that will probably help the competitive scene more than literally anything: letting players choose the seed of the map they're about to play. A seed override would fix the problems of RNG. That's okay, so that's exactly what I'm talking about. Since comp players could play the same one over multiple matches. Yeah, that's it. This is no secret. And what I mean by that is when you can have two matches on the same map, but the gens can be in different places, which can alter the outcome of the game. So what they would like is to have the map be static when they're playing comp. So both teams are playing the same map. Can we get more perk and customization loadout presets up from 3 and expand upon it? Could we potentially have the ability to favorite the loadout and name it and copy paste it to all other survivors and killers? It was supposed to be in the original new store update, but that was delayed due to time constraints. No copy paste function, but more presets and the option to name them will launch when we finish the feature. Oh, that's cool. Interesting. So like you could have something called stealth build or gen rush build or something like that. Are there plans to feature all original survivors and killers in a tome? Some characters such as Adam, Jeff, and Dredge have been waiting a while. We have a lot of characters, eh? What a fun problem to have. While we want to tell stories for all of them to give players more insight into their background, sometimes we just don't have the time. We've recently been trying to find outfit collection themes that will be appealing for a wide assortment of characters, and then find characters that best fit those themes after. The goal is to create a very strong assortment of cosmetic content across the entire Rift. Tome 20 Mystic should be a great example of this. We also tried to avoid creating outfits for characters who are already receiving outfits in the same release, but sometimes it happens. Wait a minute, didn't he get like a Rift outfit 2 Rifts in a row? What are we talking about here? Beyond that, some characters like the Dredge and Unknown are better left a mystery. D. How competitive does the team intend for DBD to be? How much priority does a competitive mindset take in balancing decisions? Okay, we kind of answered this one already. We don't make any decisions on balancing the game for competitive level gameplay. Yeah. When will you listen to the people and give Victor a top hat? That little dude deserves a top hat and a monocle. He wants to be fancy. Not a map question, but I have great designs and suggestions. Maybe could a new building and a map like a top hat shop. Oh my god. Do you have any plans on making generators more interesting by including gameplay variety when using them? This is a concept I heard about a while ago that really interested me, and I was wondering if you guys have considered something like this, or have a plan to rework generators so they're just less focused on holding mouse 1. The way I see it, generators can become similar to how Among Us task system works, which is far more interesting since each task completed in that game has some unique gameplay associated with it. For example, you can make it so all 7 generators on the map have random colors assigned to them with different gameplay requirements needed to fully complete them, while generators could have small mini-games instead of typical skill checks similar to the Skull Merchant's drone minigame. Black generators could be stopped at 90% completion unless the player grabs a nearby gear somewhere on the map to fully complete the gen. Purple generators might just have more skill checks that can either make the generator completion work faster or be a detriment and lose progress by missing skill checks. And green generators have no changes and act as they are now, etc. Just some food for thought. So it'd be like an Among Us mini game where you're like connecting the wires like that on the generator. We're currently exploring different type of gameplay for the generators and how we would create something that feels fresh and interesting for the players. Here's a hint. We actually have something coming your way for a future event. We have other ideas currently in prototypes, and I would love to see those ideas come to life. Ha! 2 words. Gas can. Why is this gas can on top of the generator in the dev live stream? We've never had to gas up the generators before. I don't know. While it's likely not high on the priority list, with the reversion of Iron Will to 100% volume decrease, are there still any plans to standardize survivor volume across the board? This was originally brought up with the original nerf to Iron Will and hasn't really been acknowledged since. The difference between survivors like Rebecca and Ace is jarring, and with the fix to the Were-Elk skin, I was curious if this was still planned or possible at this point. We have done some work on making the grunts of pain more consistent across characters for loudness and noticeability, though there's always more that we can do. We're currently looking into the inconsistencies in scream volume. Some of y'all out there are screamers. Following up on a question from the AMA a while back, why has the map design team not progressed noticeably in the balance department? It seems every time a new map comes out, it wildly swings towards one side or the other. Forgotten Ruins came out with no pallets upstairs, incredibly close to each other gates, and just a single hook downstairs with very clunky portal mechanics. Similarly, the community has been very vocal about hard and annoying to play on are the maps with tons of clutter and overwhelming detail due to random collisions and visuals being really hard to tell apart. Double Landing and Nostromo being the worst offenders recently. Can we please get something done about map design? There are amazing people in the community knowledgeable on map design like AMGC, and I just don't understand why the map team seemingly does not take their feedback into account. I would love a concrete plan forward for maps to be better, as they have been widely accepted as the worst aspect of Dead by Daylight since 2016. That was a lot. For the upcoming chapter, we've made significant changes to the Forgotten Ruins, improving the pallet count and the placement of exit gates. These updates will be available in the next mid-chapter release. Our community managers recently asked players on the forums which maps needed prioritizing for updates. Haddonfield was a top request, and we released an updated version of the map earlier this year. Next on our list for updates are the Badham Preschool, with a focus on the main building, the Garden of Joy, Midwich, and the Swamp. I agree that Badham needs work, but man, if they're going to work that Badham the way they worked Haddonfield, no thank you. I hate the new Haddonfield. It doesn't even feel like a Halloween map anymore to me, honestly. If it didn't have that pumpkin, it wouldn't feel like Halloween at all. We hope these upcoming updates enhance your gameplay experience and improve your perception of the maps. Garden of Joy again, huh? Interesting. Overall, the way you work around map designs are some of the weirdest I have seen, and I would argue it's the certain main issue for your game. Okay, here we go. More map stuff. A few patches ago, you reworked the Garden of Joy, and everyone is happy about that, but the changes overall were underwhelming. The main building was arguably even stronger. You reverted some changes but did nothing more after. In the end, the map is still problematic in a lot of ways. The only progress we got is the addition of the Greenville Square, which no longer makes the map offering 100% Garden of Joy. So you announced a map rework, which ended up being super underwhelming, and then did nothing to patch it. Yeah, that Garden of Joy, that parking lot in the corner is such a strong tile. When they said that they were tweaking Garden of Joy, I was like, finally, I won't have to deal with that parking lot in the corner. And then they didn't change it. I was like, what? Okay. You also added Forgotten Ruins, who is probably nowadays the worst map in the game. Is this the same person writing the same question? The upper area is quite empty. Okay, yeah. Okay. I think it's still a mystery. Most people's favorite maps are the older ones, Macmillan, Auto Haven. They're simple but readable and playable, making them fun for both sides. By the way, we saw some new loops on Macmillan, which look super weird and busted. New loops design should honestly be part of patch notes in the same way that they do perk balances, etc. It's one of the most important parts of the gameplay, so putting them aside is pretty weird. The big question would be, why, when maps have issues, you do pretty underwhelming changes and never add later on, and when maps are close enough to perfection, you make important and impactful changes without really mentioning it. I still wanted to say that the previous patches and chapters were some of the best we've seen in the game. While the game still has major issues, it is going in the right way, albeit a little too slow. Garden of Joy is still on our radar, and we aim to enhance it even more in the future, similar to what we did with Haddonfield. Forgotten Ruins will also be seeing some changes in the coming mid-chapter. Okay. So this is just basically the same answer as last time. We'll keep an eye out for the loops that are problematic. In the last PTB, we tested a new maze in the Coldwind Farm tiles. It was not satisfying, and we have an updated version coming for the release. As you can imagine, the gameplay is super important to us, and we want you all to have fun. So don't hesitate to send more details our way. We'll focus on the problems to improve things for everyone. And for the last part of the question, we'll see how we can improve the communication, send proper info. Community managers can be very scary when they want the patch notes, but we do our best to provide the info. But again, do not hesitate to communicate with us through the forums. With Castlevania being added, will it mean that Vampire from the Tome cutscene will never be used? Also, I wanted to say Unknown is the coolest original character. Sable is my new favorite survivor, and the map is pretty good. I just wanted to compliment the creators on that. So if you don't know what they're talking about, there was a cutscene where the observer ran into a man sitting on the steps who was drinking a cup of blood. Seemed to be a vampire from one of the tomes. I sadly can't comment on the Castlevania chapter question, and thanks for the second part. We're happy to work with a great team of artists that create beautiful visuals. We do our best to deliver interesting level design around them. Sable is also my favorite. Can we infer that all the modes and modifiers will probably come back at some point, but have you considered maybe making all of them permanent but be in rotation? Like this week will be 2v8, next week will be Chaos Shuffle, and so on. That way they're permanently in the game, but each mode will still feel fresh at the time they come back. If I told you, they'd have to kill me. What is this image? Hang on. Okay, just put in a picture of himself with his mouth covered up. Your glasses frame is spectacular, by the way. I pride myself on very fine taste in eyewear. While the Executioner's base kit is basically perfect, will he be getting an add-on pass soon, since he got a rework for one add-on? We have a design for this. I wish I could give you dates before release, but I wouldn't want to spoil the mystery. So, Pyramid Head changes. Interesting. Recent UI changes in the lobby and the PTB have been met with incredibly negative feedback. Do you plan on going through with these changes, or will they be re-examined? We have definitely heard the feedback from the PTB, and we do have some changes in the works to address this before it goes live. Yeah, that new UI is gross. What happened to the cosmetic plan? It seemed like some characters are still taking over in the outfit frequency compared to Hattie or Gabriel. Although we have definitely improved the volume of cosmetics less popular characters get, it's true that character popularity is a large driver on defining who gets more cosmetics. It's also true that a character who is not very popular is not going to be helped by having limited or less appreciated cosmetic options, and we absolutely plan to improve that through more concept testing and more community contests, as well as working with experts to respect the identity of our characters. We want to make sure all characters get a chance to have high quality, well appreciated outfits. That's because, like, had he got an outfit that was considered to be culturally wrong at one point, that's what they're referring to there. Maybe give Gabriel stuff that doesn't just always say spaceship. This has been a big point of contention with me. Vittorio, who's like from the 1300s, can wear whatever. And then they say this, well, he's just learned how to travel through time, and he has been able to grab outfits from all different eras. Meanwhile, the guy Gabriel, who actually has all of history behind him to choose from, has been relegated to spaceship stuff. Like, why can't he wear outfits from, say, the 1960s or something? He certainly has history to fall back on. He doesn't need to travel through time. He just needs to look at history. It's so ridiculous to me. Currently, the give props option in post-game doesn't visibly do anything or impact players. If it has any impact at all, correct me if I'm wrong, have you considered maybe adding a small reward that comes with it, maybe shards, blood points, or even a bit of XP? Thank you. We appreciate your suggestion. In the coming days, we'll discuss this and consider its prioritization. Nobody uses the gift props thing, let's be real. I remember one time, a long time ago, on the weekly live dev streams, like Matthew Cote showed who had the most thumbs up in like a month or a week or something. Never heard about it ever again. Is it feasible to have a game mode where every player loadout can have 5 or 6 perks equipped? Anything is possible with modifiers and modes. We'll add your idea to our brainstorming list. Hiya, great work. Doing another AMA again makes the community feel heard. In any case, could we at any given time see a health chapter in the game, as in no new content, but instead hard focusing on quality of life for the game's health? It's amazing to keep getting such good content, but old perks are being overshadowed, hard power creeped by new ones. Old maps like Swamp have totem issues or look plain compared to others. Natured maps like Toba Landing, issues with hitboxes, concern about killer's balance, and killers like Trapper and Myers remain at the bottom, etc. No, they're never going to stop the content grind, I don't think. This is a bit complicated to answer because mid-chapter updates, the big ones that happen between new chapters, already serve as our dedicated time to revisit existing content and implement quality of life features. Replacing a new chapter gets a little trickier because it takes a lot of highly skilled people to create a game, but not all those skills can be diverted to existing content. For example, concept artists and animators have a ton of work to do on new stuff, but can't necessarily help with balance changes or new quality of life features. They have different specialties. I'm glad you pointed out older perks though, because this feels like a great time to mention that we're currently working on a big perk update plan for this fall. This update will focus on almost entirely on buffing around 20 existing lesser used perks, creating more interesting and viable options to play with, and we'll go more into specifics when it's a little closer and we have everything nailed down. 20 perk buffs. Can't wait to see it. When can we expect to see biased maps getting a rework to be more fair for both roles? Maps like Garden of Joy and Haddonfield, despite already being reworked, continue to be a chore to play on. Haddonfield was reworked at the beginning of this year. It's considered the most killer-sided map right now. Haddonfield, let's face it. Garden of Joy is on our radar. That could be considered one of the most survivor-sided maps. And we also have Badham Preschool, Midwich, and Swamp on the list. And we'll keep going with the updates as soon as we can fit in the work on the roadmap. Still, don't hesitate to voice your concerns about the maps, and we'll do our best to address the issues. I'm interested to see like what they would do with Midwich. I don't mind Midwich. I don't know. What was the hardest chapter to make? Justin says the twins. Dave says the nightmare. Andre says, I don't think there was any chapter that was harder than the other. Complaints about implausible hits have been piling up recently. To quote Hens, whoa, that hit? Word. Are there any efforts to increase the server tick rate to increase the accuracy of player positions? This would make a big difference, especially for fast-moving killers like Billy, Blight, and Oni. Personally, I don't think a maximum ping limit of 2,000 is up to date, especially since a high ping only helps one side, namely the killer. Wouldn't it be fairer for all players to change the maximum ping limit to 500 ms? Alternatively, I could also imagine more server interventions in which interactions are revised. It just feels bad when you see that the other person has red ping and you lose because of that, and not because the other person is better. High ping simply destroys any skill expression. Okay, I had to poke the reclusive coders on this one. It seems that it's not clear that having the server running at a higher tick rate would result in a more accurate player position. However, if we're seeing bad hits being validated, which it seems we might, we may need to have another look at the way we do it. At the gameplay hive mind. What were your expectations when you added the remote hook mechanic to the event? Were you surprised by how survivors reacted when you added this mechanic? Several survivor main players and some killer main players have agreed that the remote hook mechanic made the game miserable for the survivor player base. What do the devs have to say? We intended for it to be a desirable ability for killers, as all of the invitation abilities were. The risk of negativity came up in internal testing, but it was also flagged as a fun element in the event as well. Oh yes, fun. Sadly, the magnitude of the negative response was much larger than anticipated. Okay, I hope they don't do this next year if they go with this invitation thing again. The remote killer hooking has shown how devastating it would be for survivors if they made generators take longer or if they made healing take longer, because the amount of time saved by the killer by using their little magic button to hook somebody instead of having to take those 10 seconds to carry a survivor to the hook just shows you how much the survivors need those 10 seconds of breathing room to get things done. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. The remote hook magic button is not good. Especially, there's no counterplay. They went through this whole batch where they're like, we want to make the toolbox be not just the repair item. We want to encourage more sabotage. Well, you know, we had 3 weeks of this masquerade event where that is just forgotten because of the magic button. And there's no counterplay for this. Plus the bug that occurred too when you would try to save somebody and the remote hook wound up making the person saving hooked. Blah. No more, please. Is it in the plans to add more audio settings? I would like sliders for chase music, hook screams, notifications, etc. I find the chase music is too loud when I'm trying to track a survivor with audio, and it often gives me headaches on certain killers like Spirit, Nemesis, or really any killer with seemingly louder than normal music. This has indeed been a topic of discussion on our team. Audio is a big part of the gameplay, so it's not without risk. However, we're talking about it. Another thing that I've heard people say is just spending blood points is too loud. Like, I know people who manually turn the volume down to spend their blood points and then turn the volume back on, which isn't ideal, you know? Why does it have to be so loud for us to spend blood points? Demo main here. I'm sorry I'm all stuffed up today. I'm sure you've noticed. His portals are massively overshadowed by some of the mobility powers we've had since, example, Xenomorph. He continues to fall behind other killers. Any tweaks planned for Demogorgon, especially his portals? We got some very minor base kit buffs a bit ago, but admittedly, I wished we got a bit more. He is very beloved killer, and I could do with some love. Thanks for the suggestion. We just did a Prio pass on our killers for live updates today, actually. And I can tell you that Demo's priority was raised due to recent data and feedback, but we don't have a design or dates for you. Interesting. Oh no, more map questions. Will you guys start addressing the new map design issues? I understand the older maps had plenty of tiles that were too strong, but the current map design philosophy is very much going in the wrong direction. Forgotten Ruins is especially egregious and has little to no counterplay for survivors due to the complete lack of tiles on the outside portion of the map. Okay, we get it. Yeah, same as before. Oh, are we nearing the end? Are you planning to graphically remake the swamp? Currently, this is the only map in the game without such a change. Yes, we will. Stay tuned for the official announcement on that. Well, that sounds different than the other thing. I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed that one day we'll have a new swamp map. Not to be specific, but is the egg sack on Macmillan's Tower ever going to be anything? You could check my comment history to see how obsessed I am with this thing. I just want to know if I can stop theorizing. Keep an eye on it. Interesting. I need to make a video about this egg sack on the water tower, honestly. The history of it. I wonder if it's going to change today when the event comes to an end. All right. There you have it. That is my long-winded speaking of all of the Q&A. So what did you think here? What are your favorite questions that were answered? What are you looking forward to hear the most in what the devs had to say? Thank you to Decutor for compiling all of this once again. That's all I have for you today. Oh, let's go get our bit badge. Do that. Okay, here we are. I almost forgot about this part. Did you forget to? We're going into the store, and we go down here for the redeem section, and we're going to type in this code. Uppercase, lowercase, does not matter. Reddit 1 mil. And we'll redeem. There it is, the 8-bit Crow badge. So let's look at our badges here. 8-bit Crow, the thank you gift. 1 million members. Thank you so much for your support and guidance. The Dead by Daylight team. All right, there you go. That's all I have for you today. As always, thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate the time you spend here with me on my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as it helps the channel a ton. Don't forget to take care of each other in and out of the fog. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
It's a Gen Rush life for us. It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life.